creature that looks almost normal until it doesn't. We're looking into these eerie encounters, most disturbing cryptids. Don't forget to subscribe and let's take a look.
Well, see, I was coming around that corner there and I caught the eyes. Now, I thought deer, but I thought, man, that's got some weird eyes for a deer. But, you know, so I keep on and I slow down because it's like, oh no, I've already hit a deer out here. I'm not tearing up my, truck that I got. And it's like, no way. So I slow down, lights on bright, and it's like, I'm waiting for you to cross. Well, it did. It come up out of that valley, right across that thing, right down into, you see that tree line that goes there? Down into that creek line. But as it come up, dude, it was standing just like I am. And the whole time, it never unfocused on me and my windshield as it went by, like boom, boom, looking. And the only way I can describe that is I think it knowed everything I've ever done in my life or something. It reads your soul. Like I said, 45, because, you know, I'm traveling these roads at night and stuff. You never know if you break down. You don't want to. So, yes, I had my gun, had a camera, but it froze me in fear sitting right there when it was in the headlights. And that's why I said, people say, maybe you mistaked it. It's like, dude, I had bright headlights on. I know what dogs look like. I know what a bear looks like. I know what this stuff looks like. You know, when you spend 55 years of your life down here, and from the time you're 5 years old going out in the woods coon hunting and stuff, you learn most of the species. Well, I never seen nothing like that one. And it's like, I looked right at it, and then it dropped down, and I was still shook up when I made it home, and I'm probably another, I'm going to say 8 miles on out through here. And I was still shook up, called my brother that night, and it's like, dude, and I don't even know really what more to say, except for, if you see it, you don't want to see it again.
Well, let's walk down there
Okay.
and take a peek. And
If you ever see it, I guarantee you won't want to again. Like that. Well, like I was telling you, my cousin. Now, if you keep going straight on this road, you'll go up a mountain. That's called Drip Rock. And at the top of that mountain, on her bus route at 4:30 in the morning, she sees this thing. It shakes her up so much, she goes back immediately, makes them change her bus route, but she said she ain't working there no more and doing this route. Now, that's a bus driver. You seen what she said. It scared her to death. She's like, that was horrible. So, like I said, I asked her if she, would like to come out. I did get a phone number for you to call her, but she's like, I'm busy tonight. She said, I don't even like talking about that.
we're at the spot now. So describe again where this was and what happened.
It come up on that, you see how that little valley? Well, I seen it coming, probably, I'm going to say 20, 30 foot. And that's the reason I went ahead and stopped, because I thought it was a deer. And that's when it come across on 2 legs, standing like we was, like if you just took off running, and come up. That's when I seen the snout. I seen the hairline, and it goes down to like a skinny waist, almost a human look. Now, I'm going to say, I guess it dropped down or whatever. I didn't stick around long enough to find out. I just wanted out of here. I ain't going to lie. That's the only thing I could think. They say flight or fight.
Or flight.
Well, I was pretty frozen in fear. And when I did get myself together, when it come down over this, I was definitely on the flight pattern. I was gone. But now you tell me something like that, 2 leg. I tell you what, just walk down that if you think you can.
Oh, yeah, that's steep right there.
Now,
very
that's where
steep.
that thing went right on down. Didn't that seem like they had a problem? So I come out the next day thinking, I know it hit down through here. Going to be tracks. Mm-hmm. No tracks.
Yeah, it looks very steep right there, going down to a
That's what I
creek.
said. I wouldn't try, but you're welcome to try and reenact it if you think you can just be like, oh, I can run down that. I'll hold your camera.
Yeah. No, I don't think I'm going to do that.
So,
Now, what time of night was this?
this was about, I want to say about 2:30 in the morning, because I just left my brother's house, and he lives actually in town where that bridge is.
Hold on. Let that car pass. Okay, go ahead.
And it was about 2 o'clock when I left his place. So it was about 2:30 in the morning, because I'd stopped by Shell, got a pop, and was, just heading home, calling it a night.
And how fast were you going?
Well, when I was coming down the road here, probably about 45 to 50, but I was dead stopped when it actually come on up, because I didn't want to hit it.
Okay, hold on. Let this car pass. Okay, were you coming from the opposite direction down there?
Yeah, I was coming this way.
Coming towards us?
Yes, and I stopped about where that sign was, because, like I said, I seen the eyes like, oh no, I don't want damages from a deer. And it wasn't a deer.
So he came up that embankment.
Yes, and
went over.
That's a pretty bad embankment.
But that, whatever it was, it would sometimes run like a human and then like an animal. So it would go down on fours and then pick itself back up. It had dark brown fur, dark, almost black fur. And I never got to look at its eyes or anything. I just always saw the side view of it just because it was running beside me. And then as I turned in to 191, it's a dirt road and then another dirt road. And I didn't see it anymore, so I lost it up there. And it stood over 7 feet tall. That you could just literally watch it raise up, and you could see it look like a human. Again, it had regular legs and fur, and we just got so scared again, and we ran back in.
Had this story sent to me by a guy who came on the show, and he said when he was just a kid, really young, he went out hunting and really hadn't hunted much, and he come across what he thought was a fox, and he shot this thing. But what's strange about this encounter, he said that the minute he pulled the gun up, he heard the word stop. He shot anyways, and then he heard shoot. So this creature said, don't shoot, or stop, don't shoot. So this thing took off in the woods, and he never could find it. He tried to track it down, and he couldn't find it. So years later, he's driving down the road, and he hears the same voice in his head, and he looks over, and there's a Dogman running beside him along the road. And this creature says, I'm the creature you shot a long time ago, and the second that I have the opportunity, when I have permission, I'm taking you out. And so for the next 14 years, this creature absolutely terrified and tortured this man and followed him at multiple different locations. He moved so many times, and every time he would move, he would hear it on his roof. He'd see it in the backyard. He said the strange fog would come up in the backyard, and then this creature would pop up out of nowhere and use mind speak to talk to him. And I know that sounds really strange.
2 years ago, I moved up to Free Soil, Michigan, and I moved into my camper thinking, oh, I'll get a house soon. 3 years later, I'm still in my camper. And my cousin's like, why don't you just stay on my property? There's nobody there, 8 acres. And it's pines, and then in the back of that is a swamp, and then it goes into Manistee National Forest. Very, very beautiful land. And I was probably there about a month, and being very comfortable with that property because it's family property. I grew up there. I mean, we were there every weekend during the summer as a kid. And I had my screen door shut, but my big door open on the camper. And from where my camper sat, straight across was the fire pit, the family fire pit. We all gather around there. And you just have that feeling like something's watching you. And I look over and I'm like, who is that over there by the fire pit? And I'm looking and I'm looking. And I go, that's a wolf, but it's standing on its hind legs. Again, probably 6 to 7 foot tall. Not some big, huge, massive thing like I've heard people see. This was just like a wolf standing on his hind legs. But you could see the muscle tone. And this time I was able to see the whole thing because it was daylight. It was just getting toward dusk. And he was gray, just like a gray wolf will look. But you could see the muscles and stuff in the arms and the legs. And the legs don't quite look right on the Dogman. They're just more like a dog, you know. And I look, I'm like, what the heck is that? And I'm thinking, okay, here's me and my little dog sitting here in the camper, and it's not going to take much for this thing to get to me and rip my door off, and there's nothing between us but a screen. So I got up very slowly and never took my eyes off of it. Never. And it was watching me from across the fire pit. There was no fire going or anything. And I slid the screen open, reached out as far as I could, and shut the big door and locked it right away. And then I'm at the window looking like, and then it was gone. It was just gone that quick.
The Smoky Mountain Park Ranger said he spent a night just trying to survive against Dogman. One cold, dreary day, this park ranger was out on patrol. He knew there was some snow that was supposed to be coming to the area, but he had to do his patrols and go to a kind of remote area of the park. He had checked the weather and thought he had time to make it to this location, do his rounds, and make it back because there was some rough terrain. So he went out on his adventure. Unfortunately, the weather didn't wait. All was well and uneventful on his way to where he was going and as he was there. But just as he was getting ready to leave and make his way back, night began to fall, and so did snow. He was just taking his time. The roads were getting covered with snow. Thankfully, he did have a four-wheel drive vehicle, but you had to be careful being isolated in the remote mountains. That all changed as he was rounding a curve. He seen something huge come off the side of the mountain in front of him. He couldn't just lock his brakes up because the snow, you slide, and he hit this thing thinking it was a bear or a deer, and so he came to a complete stop. He wasn't going that fast, so he figured whatever it was in the immediate area. He didn't see where it went to, but he got out with his flashlight and began to scan. And he did see a little bit of blood and some fur laying on the fresh snow, but he didn't see any kind of animal. He couldn't find the animal, so he ultimately just decided that hopefully it was okay and it ran off. And so he got back in his truck. He was wanting to get back to civilization also before the roads got even worse. So as he got in and started making his way back out, he seen something in his rearview mirror when he had tapped on his brakes, illuminated by the taillights. But what he seen wasn't anything that he was familiar with. It certainly wasn't a bear, it wasn't a deer. It was what he thinks is Dogman. This thing, he said, was massive. It was standing on 2 feet. It had, the best he could tell looking through a mirror illuminated by taillights, he couldn't tell great detail, at least not at that point. But he could tell this was something he wasn't familiar with. I'm going on. I'm not getting back out. I don't know what this thing is. And so still very slowly, because of the weather and the road conditions, he started making his way out. Every now and then he could look back and said this thing was following behind. After he had rounded a pretty steep curve and thought that he had finally lost it or it had gave up, whatever it was, keep in mind this dude is way up in the mountains, all by himself, terrible weather, the roads are getting snow covered, and there's this creature that he has never seen and don't know what it is. Now, I guess he knows that it's what we refer to as a Dogman, but at the time he didn't have any clue. A couple of minutes it went by, he hadn't seen it anymore. Then he heard something come up and almost like it would smack the side of his truck. And it continued on and passed in front of him, and it was in fact the same creature. It's almost like it was toying with him. He could see when it would cross in front of his headlight, because he was going very slowly because of the roads. This was a bipedal, what we would almost think a werewolf would look like. But he swore this thing almost just circled his truck the whole way out. He wasn't about to stop and confront this creature. It would occasionally, as it would go by, hit, kick, or do something to parts of his vehicle. This went on for quite some time before he started to get close back into civilization, and it just stopped. It left, whatever, ran off back into the forest.
Sometimes what looks familiar isn't human at all. Don't forget to subscribe and like, and as always, stay safe, stay aware, and question everything.